best loophole you've ever discovered? Story 1. The first Sunday of the month, museums are free in Paris. My wife and I went to the Musée d'Orsay, but there was still crowd control on the free days and the line to get in looked hopelessly long, like hour-long. I thought, maybe we can just reverse enter through the gift shop and nobody would say anything because it's free. It worked. We just walked right on in. Note, this was years ago, so YMMV. Story 2. Back in the early 2000s, Seattle apartment buildings also rented parking. You pay a month's parking fee, make a deposit for a garage door opener, and that's it. No tag whatsoever. Either you had their garage door clicker or you didn't. I moved around a bit across the city so I would pay for parking for a month and just keep the clickers and foregoing the $30 or so for each remote. I figured there's no way building managers will reprogram remotes for all their residents every 6 months. So I'd at least be able to keep parking for 6 months, which will save me $400 to $600. Turns out they did not reprogram remotes, ever. I stayed in Seattle for 6 years, and I had free secure parking in at least 4 neighborhoods across the city. Story 3. The electronic ticket I use has a loophole. It works by measuring the distance between stations via GPS. Cost will be a basic fee plus a set amount per kilometer. If I go to the city, it will automatically notice when I go back and start a new fare. But if I go back one more station than I started from, it will only register a fare of 1 station in that direction. Saves me circa €6 every trip with my kid. Story 4. Back before Spotify was a thing, I used Pandora, but I was in college, so I had to use the free version with ads. My Android at the time was a couple years old. Anytime an ad came on or I was out of skips and didn't like the song, I could just gently tap my phone on something and it would skip the ad. I discovered it one day when I was annoyed by an ad and set my phone down harder than usual. It worked for like a year until I got a new phone. I still don't know how. Story 5. For a while, the McDonald's app buy one get one free breakfast sandwich promo would let you add 2 sandwiches, then remove the paid one, and you could put up to 3 free sandwiches in your cart, but would only work if you bought anything else. So I'd get a salad dressing pack for 25 cents and 3 free sandwiches. It worked for a couple weeks before I told a bunch of people and they immediately fixed it. Story 6. In high school civics class, the teacher would ask current events questions. Then, at the end, he would ask a couple today in history questions. I found out that he got those questions out of the local newspaper every day. I would memorize the answers and get them all right. Got tons on bonus points and everyone thought I was a history buff. Story 7. A marathon held a contest during March Madness where if you correctly guessed the final 4 teams, you got a free entry, 300. The rules ended at 11:59 p.m., the day of those games. So I just waited until they were complete, came back and posted the correct teams. They had some serious reservations on whether that was legit, but they still gave me the entry. Story 8. I used to live in NYC and would travel quite a bit. I had a car in the city, wouldn't recommend, and me and my wife figured out it was cheaper to park in a neighborhood in Queens outside of JFK, walk over to the airport and just get a parking ticket and pay it, than it would have been if we just parked at the airport for an extended amount of time. Story 9. I used to bartend at Uno's. Every fall we'd sell gift cards for Xmas. For every $20 sold, we'd give a $5 coupon that could be redeemed after the new year. I'd buy myself a GC and then use it when people paid cash, then keep recharging the GC and accumulate all the extra $5 coupons. I literally spent $0 total dollars on the GC but would get around 1,000 coupons every year. Story 10. I joined the military for what was supposed to be a 6-year commitment. I was a reserve. Had to go to basic training and an A school to be a radio man. That took 8 months. And then I was released from active duty and had to go to meetings once a month and 2 weeks of duty in the summer. I found out that a reserve could only spend 2 years total of active duty. So I said screw the meetings and just stopped going. That was, of course, not acceptable to them, U.S. Coast Guard. So they ordered me to active duty, on board a cutter ported in New York City. I had some fun there. After 16 months, they had to give me an honorable discharge. So I actually spent 2 years and 8 months total in the Coast Guard instead of 6 years. Worked out well. Story 11. My roommate after college worked at a large search engine, and the company would give employees free ad space on the website if they wanted it. So we made ads to sign up for Uber using our referral codes where we would get $20 per sign-up. We basically rode Uber and ate Uber Eats for free for 1.5 years. I forget why we stopped, but there was some reason it stopped working. Story 12. Not the craziest thing, but back when Chipotle was retconning giving people Ebola and then norovirus, around 2016 maybe, they gave everyone a free burrito. The method they used was 1 burrito per phone number. I got an app that gave you burner phone numbers and kept using it to get free burritos. I paid $5 for 5 burner numbers at a time, so for each $5 I spent, I'd get 5 maxed out burritos. The real loophole is when you ask for double beans, wait until they scoop the first round of beans before asking. That way, they can't shortchange you on the second scoop or try to half and half their scoops. This last part is only relevant if you love beans as much as I do. Story 13. Back in the late 90s, when dial-up internet was still the main thing, I created a company for myself over the summer as I wanted to learn to run my own business. And I just wanted to be official. Just odd jobs, yard work, cleaning, maintenance, typical teenager skilled stuff. I created a business internet account through Sprint. I paid like $25 a month for the dedicated line and internet with unlimited hours. I shut the business down at end of the summer, heading back into my senior year. I abandoned it, essentially. I unlinked my payments, but I never canceled the internet account. I kept using it, and I just expected it to shut down one day because I no longer had a business account paying the bill, and the business was shuttered. I used that dial-up internet account for the next 3 years till I abandoned it myself, upgrading to DSL. What's even crazier is I found I could have a friend log in on that same account as me at same time as well, and it would work. I never received any delinquent bills aside from teach our very first one to the business address, a P.O. box I had, saying I missed my payment, and only one time ever. Story 14. Late to the party, a small loophole I took great advantage of once was the airport car park was changing the ticketing system to a more modern license plate recognition system. It took several weeks to roll out, and in those weeks, parking wasn't charged. It was also advertised by the airport, short-term and long-term. Short-term is free for the first hour for people picking up passengers, so it's real close to the terminal. I parked for a week directly across from the arrivals exit for free. A small win, but I don't think many, if any, thought to do it. Story 15. Not really a loophole, more if semi-unethical life tip. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I went to Vegas 3 to 4 times. I'm from Canada, and back then I carried traveler's checks. The Wear Visa branded and in Canadian currency. They looked identical to the US currency checks, except that they said CAN under the denomination instead of US. I went to a cash cage at a casino and cashed one of my checks. And instead of converting it to US funds, they gave them to me at par. At the time, $1 Canadian would get you about 77 US cents. Went back an hour later, did it again, and I got US funds. Then she said, wait, that's a CAN check. Took the US funds back, did the conversion, and I got the lesser amount. But I found I had about a 75% success rate with cash tellers not paying attention. Story 16. My sophomore year of high school, they made us all sit down and plan out the rest of our high school careers. I did the math and realized that if I did it correctly, I wouldn't have to take any classes second semester of senior year and could graduate. The counselor was horrified but looked over my math and verified that I was correct. 2 of us got through that one before they changed the credit requirement. Story 17. I used to work at Papa John's to pay my way through college. There was a contest we had where if you got someone to upsize their pizza from like a medium to a large for an extra $2, you got points towards movie tickets. A large was simply $2 extra normally anyways. Anyone that ordered a large, I simply put in a medium and upsized it. I won every flipping week. My coworkers didn't notice this obvious loophole, and it didn't cost the customer extra, so I didn't have a problem with this morally gray area. Free movie tickets every week was a huge in college. Story 18. Back in the 1960s, the school district in my hometown was broken up and absorbed into the surrounding districts. Fast forward to 2003. I'm applying to colleges. I discovered that there is a scholarship fund for people living in that old district's area. The district is gone, but the scholarship still exists. I applied and got the scholarship. I don't think there were any other applicants. Story 19. City decided to make a retroactive tax on certain businesses, which had never been taxed before. You had to pay tax on ticket prices. I discovered that this particular tax ordinance was worded badly. They made an off by 1 error. Tax was incurred on tickets €10, between 11 to 15 euro, between 16 to 19 euro, etc. Notice no tax between 10 and 11 euro, between 15 and 16 euro, etc. in multiples of 5. Given the nasty way they had done this to us, retroactively and with no warning, guess what the ticket prices suddenly all were changed to in this city? Multiples of 5. Because of this, the mayor invited representatives for a talk and decided to halve the tax and not tax us for the first year, so we could adjust prices accordingly with the new tax. Story 20. Our local Tesco accidentally had 2 offers for Terry's chocolate orange at once. So if you bought 4, or a multiple of, they gave you 50 pence. Tried not to abuse it since if they notice they change it, but bought 4 chocolate oranges with other stuff through the self-checkout every day for almost 2 weeks before they corrected it. I planned to save them for Christmas presents, but Christmas was 4 months away, and you know how delicious Terry's chocolate oranges are. Story 21. In high school, I had a physics test, and we were allowed to use the internet on our laptops. We were told beforehand to still study as all the answers were in the textbook. So in my free period, I searched for a place that wasn't blocked by the school's firewall where I could make my own website. Once I found one, I went home, got my physics textbook CD, uploaded it to my computer, and made my own website with all the diagrams and information needed onto my own website. When we did the test, the teacher was monitoring what we were looking at, and after the class pulled me aside and just simply said that he thought about stopping me from using the website, but admired the thought I put in, advised me to remove everything to avoid getting in trouble in regards to copyright, and that next year he's going to make sure that others aren't allowed to do what I did. Story 22. Used to be able to get cheap flights on EasyJet. This doesn't work anymore, so I can share it freely. We kept it secret for a while to try and not raise any alarms over there. Basically, with the flexi fare, you could change departure and destination within the same price range, and you could change dates for each route, meaning you'd pick a random flight that was cheap on selected dates and expensive in others, move it to those dates, and then choose another flight in that price range, but which you could change the dates for even more expensive. Repeat until you can get the flight you need. Regularly for €300 flights for €20. Very useful, especially to travel around the holidays. Story 23. Not really a loophole, but in the same vein as some of the other comments. DeviantArt.com used to let you gift core membership, which made the site ad-free, and gave you some other premium goodies. And for the holidays, they had a buy one, get one free thing, where if you gifted someone a month of core, you'd get a month for yourself. It was an easy gift for everyone in my community, and I got free membership too. Well, after about the 16th purchase, they blocked me from buying anything else on their site. I pulled in over a year's worth of membership for free, and all my friends got something that was pretty coveted for that time. Story 24. Opting out of courtesy. Pay overdraft protection at a bank or credit union does not remove your availability to overdraft. It only takes away the bank's right to charge you for overdrafting your account. If you opt out, you can still overdraft your account, but they can't charge you. It's essentially an interest-free loan whenever you need it. Results will vary from bank to bank. Story 25. I charged a hotel room to the wrong credit card once. So-called customer service to get it refunded and recharged. Over the phone, they process the refund and then connect you to the hotel to rebook. But the hotel couldn't process my card for some reason, so I told them to forget it, and I'll just keep the original payment. But refunds are processed by main office, so I was refunded and never recharged by the property. About 2 years later, they were rechecking the books and ended up recharging me. But I called them and played dumb, and they canceled the payment. Worked once, but I never tried it again. Story 26. In the 90s and maybe early 20s, many young people had prepaid phones here. So to spare money, they use those extra service numbers where the person you call will pay for the phone call when they accept it at the beginning of the phone call. As the number which was used to call the people was unknown to the receiver, you had a few seconds to tell your name, so the person you call will know who is calling. But in practice, it was mostly used like this. This is a call from, "Meet me at the bar at 6, Johnny. Do you want to accept this call and pay for it? Then hold the line." No one had to pay this way. Just stay short in your message. Shrug. Story 27. Around 2009 to 2011, Studio Movie Grill was offering free movie tickets on their Facebook just for giving them your email address. I had a relatively new Gmail account, so I could do the whole email address plus something to register tons and tons of emails and get the tickets. Me and all my friends saw a lot of free movies that summer. It wasn't really stealing, since in theory the whole point was to get you in the door and then you buy food drinks, since it was a new theater concept with nicer seats, ordering food at your seat, etc. Common now. But we were all poor college kids, so we only got free waters. The chain was never crowded when we went, so worst case we were just taking up some free waters, but not the seats of paying customers. Story 28. A bit over 20 years ago, I started a job at a full-service gas station. Literally the day I started, they got new tills. One of the features of the system was it could interface with the car wash system and prevent people working there from just printing free ones. There was no good way of preventing it other than checking security footage constantly. Well, a week or two in, they got them interfaced, so the gravy train was over. But once, I was working the till and noticed something. When you ring in a car wash, the till froze for a second or two while it talks to the car wash machine and generates a code. A few days later, Someone changed their minds saying they found an unused one in their wallet, so to void it. That happened instantly, so I figured it voided the sale but didn't cancel the code. I memorized it, tried it, and it worked. From then on, anytime I needed a car wash, I'd hit the wrong button on the till, or claim a customer changed their minds. I told nobody until my last day and told them to enjoy. Story 29. When I was a kid, I lived in a town with a lot of small manufacturing shops, job shops, etc. One shop was dumping nickel-sized slugs in the scrap bin. Didn't take us kids long to figure out we could use them to get free gumballs out of the machine at a local mom-and-pop party store. The owner did end up busting us after a while. He probably thought it was unusual that we kept coming back and buying gum. Instead of getting us in trouble with our parents, he just said, whenever we want a gumball, to come up to the counter and he'll give us a nickel. That was quite a lesson for a kid, and I never used a slug or even asked for a nickel from there on out. I just used my own nickel if and when I had. Story 30. Gotta have money and great credit for this one, but it was good. Family member owned a transportation company. When they started getting bigger, he bought 5 semi-truck tractors and leased them back to the company. The company leased tractors anyway, and he leased the newer ones back at a lower cost than the others they were leasing. It was a closely held company. No one was going to complain about self-dealing. That's kind of a loophole right there. But the best one was he'd make the truck loan payments, sizable amount, on a credit card, and immediately pay it off each month with the lease money, with more left over. The credit card had air miles. They'd fly whenever they wanted to, transferred miles to family and close friends, and never dropped below 500,000 air miles. Story 31. Ohio has a $200 EV tax per year of registration for any full EV. No gas engine, only batteries. You can register in advance up to 5 years out. You just have to pay for each year at one time. So if you register a normal gas car for 5 years out, it's the normal fee, which is around $250, $50 per year. You can then turn around and transfer your plates to the EV for a small $12 fee and enjoy not paying the extra $200 per year. After 5 years has passed, you can buy a cheap used car that barely runs. Transfer your plate to that car. Buy 5 years of registration again. Then transfer your plate back to the EV and enjoy 5 more years without having to pay the fee. It's a loophole the Ohio Congress didn't think of when they wrote that law. Story 32. Couple years ago, Wawa started adding self-checkout to their stores. Quickly found out that you could screenshot a coupon on the Wawa app, X free coffee, hoagie, sizzly, etc., and the self-checkout scanner would scan the code as many times as you want. I worked at the beach and would always make a Wawa trip for lunch. I'd get hoagies for the whole work crew that whole summer without paying a dime. Eventually, they patched the system and the coupons only worked at the main register. All said and done, though, I saved hundreds, if not nearly $1,000 on food that summer. Story 33. Not really a loophole, but my TA in college would subtract 20 points on your quizzes if you didn't use graph paper. Average scores were in the 60s. One day, I forgot to use graph paper. When I got my test score back, I got an 80. I was shocked. I realized that this guy subtracted 20 points right away and didn't bother to check the rest of the quiz. I tried it again and it worked. I scored 20 points higher than average on my quizzes that year. Story 34. In the early days of Potbelly expansion, I was given a gift card from out of state. The new Potbelly that was built by me could only accept ones from in-state for some reason. The teenagers working there would always get confused and just give me my offer for free. Got probably $300 worth on that $50 gift card like 25-ish years ago. Story 35. I never took advantage of this, but I know of people who did. At my college, the ticket for parking somewhere that wasn't a parking spot was cheaper than the ticket for parking without a permit. Furthermore, 1 or 2 of those tickets a week was cheaper than a parking pass for the semester. So, people who were only taking a single class would sometimes take advantage of this and park in the grass or in an area 1 spot past the end and risk the tickets, knowing they'd come out better even if they got a ticket every time. Story 36. When I was maybe 14 or 15, there was a promotion on some brands of cereal boxes that gave you free admission to a movie. The cereal was probably like $10 cheaper than the movie ticket though, so my friend and I would buy a box of cereal, take the coupon, ditch the cereal, and see a movie at a steep discount. The promotion was during summer break from school. We saw so many movies and wasted so much cereal that summer. Story 37. I used to use Walmart shopping app and always accepted substitutions. They always had a mini Reese's brand bar that was always out of stock. This candy bar would only be listed for 49 cents. Each time I ordered, they would replace it with an extra large candy bar of the same brand that retailed for $2.49. I ordered 5 every week until I was basically burnt out on. Story 38. I spent years traveling to and from work on open return train tickets. The outbound ticket would be valid for a day, but the return would be valid for a month. The times I traveled on the train were too busy for the train conductor to punch tickets, and most of the time, they couldn't even move through the train. If I ever had my tickets punched, I would buy new returns. I calculated that over the 5 years I was doing this, I saved around £6,200 versus if I had bought monthly passes. Before anyone judges, I was earning just above minimum wage and had to commute 3 hours every day, and almost all of the money I saved during that time in my life was due to this train ticket scam. The money I saved led to me having enough to study a master's and switch to a career where I now earn a much better wage. Story 39. The Chamber of Commerce does those coupon books each year, where if you buy a large fry at Sonic, you get a small for half off. McDonald's lets you get an upgraded combo size, etc. I've never bought one, but my boss at the time gave me a free one. Both of the pizza places in town had a buy one get one free for any size pizza. My family got free large pizzas at least twice a week for that whole year. The next year, it was something like, buy one pizza, get a free drink. But that first year was glorious. Story 40. My university was trying to encourage people to walk, so if we download a specific health tracker that's connected to our account, it would convert steps into points. The points would get you stuff like free coffee, mugs, discounts for stuff, and the most expensive prize, a university hoodie which costs about £30. Now, the health tracking app is pretty basic. It won't let you log your steps manually, however, it does let you connect with other health apps. I found a health app that would let me add in the steps, and I logged in an equivalent of 50 kilometers a day, and in a few days of logging manually, I would get myself a hoodie or two, and I didn't get caught. However, I told my friend about it, and he really perfected the method of getting more steps a day, because apparently there was a hidden physical limit to how far a person can walk in a day. But he managed to trick it by setting his height to be 1 centimeter, and because the shorter you are, the more steps you need to take to cover the same distance. In the end, he claimed about 10 plus hoodies, and he would just get them for anyone who asks. The uni found it suspicious, so he received an email telling that the activity had to stop unless he could provide evidence that he walked that much. Another friend had a different method. You get points just by being friends with them on the university health website. He also found that he could access a list of everyone who had an account in that website. So he made a Python script that would automatically send a request to everyone, earning him points. Story 41. I worked at Hollywood Video when the Xbox was new, and Microsoft offered an online program for anybody who might need to know about their console and games. In exchange for taking quizzes, I earned a bunch of points that I redeemed for new games. I took them all to Walmart, where they didn't require a receipt for some reason, and turned the games into a gift card. It worked a couple of times, but I was bringing in 5 games at a time saying I got them for my birthday but that I already had them. I'm pretty sure nobody believed me but didn't give a cow. The third time they told me they'd have to get the manager, so I bailed. And that's how I ended up with multiple copies of Fable.